So I was told I did a pretty good Donald Trump impersonation. Sorry, I don't have blonde hair though. So.
He doesn't have blonde hair.
He doesn't either, right?
That thing's real?
So I guess a wig would be in order. All right. I'm not going to go there. Okay, here's our staffing so far. We have the big sort of notable thing that I'll mention here is within an operations, we have an open DBA/sysadmin. We're really looking for someone who's a good sysadmin that has interest in knowing database. And if you know of anyone, please send them my way. We are looking for a good quality engineer. Everybody else is full. I'm particularly full myself because I just had lunch. Oh, okay.
-2.
Okay. We've done a lot of work lately, mainly on SWIP Easy. And I think you can see that if you log into ARIN Online. We're going to go through a couple of demos where you can actually see some of the fruits of our labor. You can do almost anything you want with ARIN Online now. There's no need for doing templates if you got a 1Z and 2Z or whatever else and you edit it and send it into Hostmaster. You can actually go online and make whatever modifications you want to your reassignments. We've had a lot of feedback from user experience, and we try to make this very, very user-friendly. So we'd like to hear from you, both the positive sides and the negative sides regarding that. We also finished 8.4 transfers, and that is both front-end work as well as back-end work, making sure that John Sweeting's group's job is done well and that they don't miss anything. And the final part is we've moved into our new office, which was a pretty significant undertaking. It affected operations a lot in terms of setting up our network, but also impacted the rest of the company, and especially the developers as we were going through the frenzy of actually doing the move. So let's go through some of the ARIN Online user interface work. So we have a new dashboard. Has anyone actually seen the dashboard? Okay, has anyone actually seen the Vote Now button? Excellent. So today we're having some issues with BigPulse. So Dyn, which is a BigPulse's DNS provider, is under a DDoS attack that's been happening since early this morning. When Dyn goes off the air, so does BigPulse. When BigPulse is down because of DNS issues, you don't see the button, but it will come back. So come back a little bit later and you will see it. So we did do some updating of our navigation that we'll go through as well, which was necessary for SWIP Easy. And we've done a lot of usability tests with the community. So going into various ARIN on the road events, having people take a look at this code and say, hey, what do you think? Actually running through doing a reassignment or whatever. Having local volunteers coming to our office and playing with it as well. Testing the new dashboard and seeing if it's intuitive for them. And if you have any things that you would like to see, there's usability at ARIN.net, and our user experience expert is online to take those suggestions into effect. So here you can see that the dashboard is dynamic. It shows alerts. You can see that there's 3 point of contact records. You can see your allocations as a summary, and you can actually see if you have a bill that's due. Here you can see it in a bigger fashion. And you can see that we have actually added on basically sub-navigation items. So you click on a major link, and it actually rolls down to the sub-navigable parts of the elements. And we'll go through a actual demo of this a little bit later. And here's how you can actually do a reassignment. And one of the things that's kind of interesting in this, if you're not sure what a detailed or simple reassignment or a reallocation, what all these things mean, you can click the little information button there to find out what that means, that I there. And here it gives you a short quiz as well, so you know exactly what you're doing. So going back to the operational moves, it was really a lot of work to make this move seamless. We had to build out of a new server room, which was pretty impactful. We learned a lot of the stuff. We learned a lot of the things, what to do and what not to do based on our existing server room. And we wanted to make sure that we improved on what we had and make it much better. We also redid our internal network. So we've had a security audit done in the last 2 years. And some of the recommendations that they've given us, we've actually improved our network posture, our security posture, based on doing some network modifications. And of course, according to the audit recommendations as well, we've done lots and lots of changes to make our systems more resilient. We've had operational challenges. I reported about this at the last meeting about DDoS attacks. They've subsided. I really like that. Most of the attacks happen on Friday, and almost always happen when one of our operations managers, Pete Toscano, was out of the office. Don't know why. But it wasn't him. It wasn't him. And one of the stories I want to tell you about is our old computer room in our old building. So the computer room was it was sort of incrementally built, and one of the things that was added a little bit later was our generator. And the generator was basically almost like a baby generator. It had a very small gas tank associated with it. And as we were getting close to the end of our days there at ARIN, we started suffering low voltage events. And you guys who have computer rooms know that when a low voltage event happens, your generator kicks on, right? So here it is, stinking hot, really hot. I mean, we're talking over 105 approximately, and our generator's running. And unfortunately, since our tank was so small, we couldn't find a fuel provider who would actually deliver fuel for us. So thankfully, I live on a farm, and I have the capability to deliver quite a bit of diesel fuel. So I became the fuel delivery man for our diesel generator. And also, if the generator wouldn't start, I brought my pickup truck to work, and I would actually jump start it with my truck. So in our new building, we will not have this problem. So we have lots of gas and a good battery. So just going back to ARIN Online, you can see that we've had over 1 million accounts that are going through, and almost every year is fairly consistent in terms of number of accounts activated. What's interesting on this one is the number of logins. We have a lot of power users that go on to ARIN Online. There's almost 20,000 users that logged in at least 16 times, which is pretty amazing. Here you see our RESTful transactions using RWS for reassignments versus templates. And this is all cumulative, but you can see that the RESTful transactions have way overtaken the templates as people are moving to REST. Here you can see the people are using DNSSEC. Less than 1% are secured. Pretty low penetration rate, and you say, wow, that's not so good. But then again, if you go look at Com and Net and what their penetration rates are, they're actually fairly close. So this is actually not a bad number. RPKI usage, it's fairly flat in terms of its growth. We do have growth. One of the things that's quite notable is that we have an up-down customer who's actually actively using up-down and using RPKI. And it's a fairly complex mechanism, but they got it going. So you can see that RPKI is going about the same speed as DNSSEC. Now, this slide is interesting. Here we have our Whois queries per second, and you can see we had this spike back in 2010, right, where we had a bunch of different activities that occurred, and they went away. We're starting to see another spike starting to emerge, both for Whois, which is in orange, and Whois RWS, which is in black. So we're not exactly sure what that means yet, but we're keeping a close eye on it. Here's Whois over V6 as a percentage. It actually is sort of wavering around 4% or so, 3 to 4% in terms of traffic. And here is RDAP. And we also broke this out in terms of V4 and V6. And that, as a new protocol, actually has fairly equal distribution between V4 and V6. although there was a spike on V4 that happened earlier this year. IRR maintainers continues to grow. Same with route and Route 6 objects. And iNet nums and iNet 6 nums just continually grows. And here you can see the breakout per organization, which is fairly interesting. Number of organizations, there's 44 that have 100 to 2,000 objects in our IRR. So there's a number of heavy users into the system. Here's what we're going to be working on this coming year, and you can see that there's a lot of this stuff is somewhat repetitive from what Nate had talked about earlier, because he frankly drives a lot of the things that prioritizes what we do. Better management of voting contacts, which we like to make easier on you. Automated installation of new services and redundancy, a thing that Kevin Blueberg talked about earlier, like RegRWS. And the next thing is kind of interesting is we're starting to work on a user authentication scheme called OAuth. And it's going to do two things for us. One is for those people who authenticate via this new protocol, which is actually fairly common in the industry. If you authenticate, then we'll give you unlimited responses back. Right now, you get 255 coming back if you're unauthenticated, but if you're authenticated, we'll know who you are, and you can actually use the system a little bit in a greater detail. And this is based on an ACSP that Danny Roseman put into place a couple years ago. And as a bonus, one of the other things that we have is we've had a couple of ACSPs that have complained about ARIN Online timing out. So you go in for a coffee break, you're halfway through something, you come back, ARIN Online timed out, online timed out, and your work is lost. So with this OAuth work that we're doing, we're also going to allow for unlimited time, because it goes from being session-based on the server to session-based on the client. And finally, we're doing lots of accessibility things going on with ARIN Online. And what I like to do is I'm going to hand it off to Hollis here a minute and show you sort of a pilot of things that we're thinking about doing with ARIN Online. And you can see this is off of a mobile device, which right now is actually fairly hard to do if you want to do ARIN Online in its present form. So Hollis, if you want to take it from here. Okay. So what's going to happen here is a person is actually going to do a simple reassignment. And the question is, whose reassignment is it? So we're going to find out here. It might be coming up fairly soon.
No, but I do look for who is current for someone recent.
So as you can see, this is all being done on a mobile device, and this is just going through an animation of how this actually can all work out. And you can see that this is actually a fairly interesting approach, and hopefully, if you guys like it, this is something that we'll be implementing. And I've seen a few people in the audience nod, saying, "Yeah, this sounds like a good idea." Is there any more that are going to nod? Okay, maybe not. So here you can see that we're doing just a test of a little bit more information, and that's pretty much close to it. Whoever did the demos, actually, they typed like me. Okay. All right. So that is the end of the demo. So anyways, it gives you sort of a preview of what we're looking at. And if you have any feedback, usability at arin.net is the place to go. And you can actually give us some further feedback. So the other thing that we're working on that Nate also alluded to is we have a pretty significant technical backlog. One of the things that we've done is when we did ARIN Online starting about 8 years ago, we used the most modern Java is available, which is Java 6. That's no longer in support. So if there's any serious issue, we're in kind of a world of hurt. So what we're doing is upgrading this to a more recent version, Java 8, for our application servers. So all our applications are Java based. They all run on a Java stack, and we want to move from 4 to 6. I'm sorry, from 6 to 8. I'm just thinking V4 and V6. So we also are doing an overhaul of our monitoring system. The main system that we're going to is Sensu. We currently have a mixture of 3, which is never good, Xenos, Isinga, and moving to Sensu. So we're moving all our stuff from Xenos, which is very old, and our stuff that was on Isinga, which is a little bit newer, to Sensu, which is going to give us a much better feeling what's going on with our networks and our services. And we're also working on automated build systems. We're currently using Puppet. We're kind of wondering, based on the effort that we've put in so far, if that's actually the right tool for the job, and we're looking at alternatives. So we'll see where that goes. And of course, we're looking at improved logging to make sure we know what our systems are doing. So any comments?
It's Vint from Google. Just a question about the Java 8 choice. There had been reports over the last several years of Java having serious security problems, maybe because of the virtual machines. Is that an issue for you, or is it used in such a way that you don't have that risk?
We're very careful how we craft these things, and making sure all these things are protected by firewalls on the front side, and actually they're actually not on the back side either. So they're sort of in the middle. They're application gateways for the most part. So you never know. You obviously don't know what you don't know, but for the most part, we feel fairly confident that we're okay. Plus, we've had a couple of security audits, which they have not flagged anything that we've done as issues in this area. So, good question, though.
David Huberman, Oracle, speaking strongly in favor of Java. No. Two quick
So
comments.
there.
Sorry. Yeah. Two quick comments.
Yeah.
I'm a ARIN online power user over the last 3.5 years, and the improvements that have been steadily made over the last 3.5 years that I've been using it have been fantastic. Kudos to you and your team.
Thank you.
Really getting better,
Thank you.
especially where it came from. Good first effort. Good stuff.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Huberman.
Not just this morning, but in the last few elections. This morning, I voted on my phone while I was sitting here ignoring John.
As usual.
As usual. It worked so well. It was so fast. It was so easy. Big Pulse has been the best voting. We've had a few voting systems. Mm-hmm. Big Pulse, as a user, has been my favorite voting system, and I wasn't quite sure what you guys were talking about on the slides about the changes to managing voting records, but I hope you keep Big Pulse just the way it is.
Okay,
from a user
you.
perspective.
Thank you. So one of the things that Wendy talked about the other day, just to give a little bit of background on this, is now users have to go through ARIN Online to get to Big Pulse.
Yeah.
Last year it was you could also go directly to Big Pulse if you didn't have an ARIN Online account.
Okay.
So this is exposing it more to to members. Hey, here's how you actually put in your voting contact.
Okay. Well, it's real easy, and I really like it.
Great. Thank you.
On Big Pulse, I just want to make clear something. So we have had a number of voting systems, and most recently we've been working with Big Pulse, and that's worked out well. It's getting better and better. We're clearer about what we expect, and they've been responsive in terms of working with us. There is a lot behind the scenes. ARIN is an interesting it has an interesting approach to how we do elections, because one contact may vote for 5 org IDs, and that, when you first try to describe that, obviously there's a lot of learning that we go between each other. We are working with them. We are successful. Now that our validation is within ARIN Online, and now that we're working well with them, as long as they continue to evolve with us and we have the support we need, then it's easy to use them. It's also true that we're now, finally, now that we have a front-end validation for everyone who votes, we're also in the position where we could do the functionality ourselves if we wanted to eliminate outside dependencies. For example, right now, Big Pulse button to vote may not show up if the DNS name isn't there. We're looking at both options. I do believe we've gotten to a point where at least we're stable on voting, and I'd like to try to stay that way for a while. Behind the scenes, you should know, we have this vote tabulator person that we appoint from the board. And in years past, the reports that we get to compare were entertaining to validate the election. We're entertaining at best. We've gotten better. Hopefully this year's report is a lot closer to what we want. But it is an active area where we're looking because we need an easy interface for you, but we also need to be able to readily validate the results, and we're not their typical customer. Okay, so we're happy with it though, and we would like feedback. We have no particular plans to leave them, but on the other hand, if we can't get everything working smoothly, or if we have external reliability issues, it may be something we queue up. Okay. All right. Anything else? Any other?
Yes, over here.
Any other questions for Mark?
Yeah, over here. Kevin Bloomberg, The Wire. I spend a lot of time on my mobile phone, and I'm really happy to see the ARIN Online moving to responsive. Just in your demo, as a quick thing, you can't move all of the content that is done for desktop into responsive and expect it to work the same way. In fact, you really need to get out of a different mindset, and I saw this as being the version 1.0, which is really we've made our site responsive, but in the same way as the desktop. And I hope that it sounds like you've got a lot of UX people helping you with that, and that will move ahead. ARIN Online isn't my concern. It's not where I spend my day on ARIN's site. During this week, I have gone to ARIN's main site 30 or 40 times to look up policy, to look up fee structures, schedules, etc. And ARIN's website, because of the volume of content, is one of the hardest websites to deal with, and especially in the voting area. There is so much information on the main voting page that trying to navigate to where you want to go without it being responsive is next to impossible. So I know you've said you're working towards this. You mentioned ARIN Online, but I'd actually say that the actual ARIN website is just as important, and hopefully you'll have a good timeline for us.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I don't see Susan here, but we've gone back and forth. The communications team has recommended several times that we launch a redesign to simplify and make things easier to organize on the ARIN website. And I'm probably the most pedantic stick in the mud in the organization when it comes to this, only because we also have people who say, I finally figured out where everything is, don't move anything, okay? I know I have to go to this tab and down here and go here, and if you move it, it may not be an improvement. We are going to redesign the website to make it easier to use. We are going to look at a content management system. We are doing these things, and it will change the website. It's pretty important that we get it right. I don't want to end up going through a redesign and a content management system and then rolling something out that's not thrilled. So we'll be working with you guys on getting feedback on that. But it's a very, I don't want to try to do it incrementally, because people need to know where to find things quickly, and once they learn it, you don't want to change that more than once. So we will be doing a sort of major design sometime in the next 2-3 years. Even if we started next week, it might take a year to get the first one to you, but we'll try to involve the community and let them see early previews of some of those changes.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.